Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome inside Studio 31 here at City National Arena in Summerlin. This is an exclusive season ticket member Q&A with the head coach of the Golden Knights, Bruce Cassidy. I'm Dan Duva. Thanks for spending your evening with us. It is Friday night, and we're talking hockey. How are you, Bruce?
I'm doing terrific. You, Dan?
I'm great. Well, this is fun. I mean, you and I get to chat all the time. I can't imagine that you enjoy it as much as I do. But we talk before every game, and I get to pick the questions. But today, season ticket members have provided the questions. What do you think?
Well, let's see. Let's see who's doing the better job, Dan. You'll get evaluated here, as I will with my answers.
But we've got some good questions, and we're going to bring some of them that have been sent in. I might have a few follow-up questions if you're
I'm up for it.
To that.
I can take it.
And, I figure there's a few other things I might want to bring up. But I'm very impressed with some of the questions. And these people really know you quite well. It's been 2.5 years now, almost 3.
Almost.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get right to it. And we should say thank you to everybody who did send in questions. We'll try to get to as many as we can. And this is it's fun for us to talk with season ticket members. We have a great fan base here in Las Vegas, but you all are really what make it happen. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. And we'll get through as many as we can here, Bruce. We're going to talk for about 30, 45 minutes. So we're going to cover a lot of stuff here. But let's get right to it. We don't have to waste any time. There's no puck drop we're counting down to. We could just chat with the head coach. So let's go first to a hockey question. And this comes from Mark Richardson. We'll go right off the top. Mark asks, how, Bruce, would you describe the team's identity this season, and what areas are you looking to improve as we push toward the playoffs? Thank you, Mark, for that question.
Identity is I feel like we can win different ways. Start of the year, we scored a lot of goals to win games. Then we got our defensive game in order. We're finding ways to win then. Last night was a bit of a probably one of those outside the box games where it's you're up 5-1, all of a sudden 6-5. So, but we scored goals to win. So I think we know how to win. So our identity is we can play winning hockey. We can find different ways to win. Yet our identity always comes back to being hard to play against, and that's what I think will get us over the hump. So that's what we're striving for. So we're still working on that on a 60. So how do you improve, I think was the second part. Get to 60 minutes of that hockey, which is not easy for any team in this league at this time of the year. You're always building for that in April and May, right? So we're right there in that regard. And I think lately we've seen that the games when we're not at 60 minutes, we have to self-correct quicker to get out of them. LA was a good example of that. So that's the challenge in front of us, is to get to that identity for most of the game, if not all of it.
Identity comes from where? Is it instilled by the coaching staff and management? Do the players drive that? Where does identity come from?
Well, I think so. A coach comes in, he wants to play a certain way. Do you have the personnel to do that? So when you interview with George and Krim, here's how I'd like to play. We have the players who can do this. That's sometimes why you get hired, because that's what they want as well. So where's it driven from? Probably starts at the top to a certain extent, and what the expectations are. That's always Bill, and the people around him. Cup and six, right? That's where you start to identify the expectations and what you want to be. And then it's up to us as coaches to allow the players to play that way and hold them accountable to play that way, to whatever that is. If you want to win every game by outscoring the other team, then it's run and gun. If you want to be a team that can win hockey games when you're not scoring and be tight checking, then that's what that is. And then you have to hold them accountable through the course of the year to play that way. How do you do that? Well, that's ice time, that's video, that's practicing certain things, and then it's up to the players. At the end of the day, they have to buy into it. They have to want to play a certain way, and more importantly, believe there's a certain way to play and you can win that way. And I felt the first year we accomplished that. So we're trying to replicate that. We'll still stay current in the league, but I feel like it's only 2 years ago. We still believe that's the way to win.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I could ask you a million follow-ups on all of these things. It's fascinating, and I usually do. But this is about you, the season ticket member. So let's move on to the next question. Eric Feely has one about that evolution that you just talk about from year to year. With the league constantly evolving, how do you adapt your coaching style to keep the Golden Knights ahead of the competition?
Well, the league evolves, but there's still a certain style of play that I feel most teams want to get to win. And you can go over the years. I'm going to date myself, but the Montreal 70s Canadiens won. Everyone thought they were the high-flying Montreal Canadiens, which they were, but they won with good goaltending, team defense. The Islanders did that. You go through the years, I think Edmonton changed that a bit, but I still believe you have to play with pace and creativity to a certain extent, and the more players coming into the league are brought up with that, but you still have to have a team structure. I don't think you can just throw the puck out there and say, play positionless hockey. I've heard that term. I don't believe it exists if you want to win. It may get to that, so I think there's evolution, but you still have to have core beliefs, if that makes sense. You got to tie those two together. So how does a coaching staff? I think one of the things we always look at is, okay, who can you add to your coaching staff that's young and recently removed from playing? That can give you an insight into, okay, what are the players thinking, short of you going to talk to what the players thinking. So that's how you certainly evolve, as the people around you get feedback from them, get ideas from them to help you coach that age group better. So that's one thing that Joel Ward brings to our staff. Ryan Craig was younger, but he left, and so I think you'll see that with staffs to tap into that area of the player that maybe you've coached a certain way for a long time, but you need to integrate how they learn. And then the other thing is getting out there and talking to other people, right? Like other coaches, and reading, right? There's knowledge out there of how does the 21-year-old brain work versus a proven guy. So there's avenues out there you can discuss, but at the end of the day, it's still a game that's played on the ice. It's still, you need good teammates. It's a team. It's not one player. So you still have to tie that into a whole group of 23 players and get them driven the same way. So the last part of that is evolving as you use the veteran guys around you. But I don't think that's evolved. I think people have done that forever, but that is an area that you certainly, have to continue to develop and get their feedback.
Yeah, you talk about the evolution of the game. There's a few areas. I think about the style of play, whether it's equipment. Then there's the just the human factor, the size. I mean, athletes are bigger, stronger, faster than they were, and then just the mental side of it, as you just touched on. The 21-year-old in 2025 is maybe different than a 21-year-old in 1985.
Are they bigger? Well, right? You can go back in time and look at teams that. Big decors, right? There was, there was a time every decor had guys that were 6'4" and over, and we have a big decor, and we believe in it. Tampa did, but you look around the league, and there's a lot of Quinn Hugheses. So what are you going to? You can't say, well, I don't want him on my team. Look how much how dynamic he is. So you have to blend those things. So there's a lot of smaller players coming into the league now, probably more forwards, but at the end of the day, so that is not always necessarily the case if you sort of pigeonhole yourself and say, I have to have this. I think you have to be, is this player, does he have competitive skill? All right. Does he have hockey IQ? Those are the things to me that drive the best teams.
Yeah.
Now,
transcend generations.
Yes. And I would probably say, well, you don't want them all to be 5'9", 5'10", but you're going to, the smaller players in the league. You can't immediately rule them out. I wouldn't have a team full of them, just like I wouldn't have a bunch of maybe bigger, heavier forecheck guys when, you need some of the rush games. So I think it's, blending those types of players together so you have a little bit of everything so that you can play different styles of game and still win, yet be true to your identity from the previous question.
Sure, yeah. And, you'll see one of them, let's say in Jack Hughes, New Jersey Devils on Sunday, and, that leads to our third question, which comes from Drew Wolf. Drew asks, how do you decide when to shuffle lines and what factors go into those in-game adjustments? And I'm taking that to mean a little bit with sometimes you see what the other team's doing, matching up with, say, whatever line Jack Hughes is on as an example.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you can match up. If you're on the road, you can't. So, or you're chasing it, which takes you completely out of the rhythm of your game. So that's a difficult one. I'm going to read it as, why do I mix up my lines? Because I do it a lot. It's usually production. Are you getting what you want out of your team? Are you scoring enough? Are you generating enough offense? If not, okay, then how can we do it better? Sometimes it's trial and error for me. I like to see what it looks like if you have new players. Okay, so that's another time you do it. Without being at the expense of if the team's going well. So you have those are in your back pocket. Sometimes you have a feeling a player is not going well, and maybe you got to drop them down to send a message. And okay, you're not going to get as much time. You're going to go here to get back to your identity. I'll use last night's game as an example. Barbashev, Kolasar, and Howden. I thought Barbie's game, he's had chances with Jack, and let's put him back into sort of a straight north-south type of thing. Coley's played a lot with Nick Waugh. Maybe a change of scenery for a game or two and see how it works out. Last night it did. Some of the other lines don't, right? So that's a little bit what goes into it. So it's team first always, and then thinking of the player. Maybe he's better off going here because it's not working this way. And are we taking away then if I move that player from Jack and Stoney, say, if you take I'm using them as an example.
Yeah.
You'd like to think they'd still continue to play and play well, give someone else an opportunity up there and see how that mixes. So there's usually rhyme and reason to it. Previous knowledge, where's the team going? And then the last part is there is a little bit, okay, Brandon Saad comes into play for the team. What's his best fit? We have to find out. So you might move him around no matter what just to see what it looks like for that reason, because there might be a better solution.
How much, Bruce, are you, over the course of a season, thinking about, hey, we might need this combination later on? Like, for example, you mentioned those three guys, Barbashev with Howden and Kolasar. Going into last night's game, they played 1 minute and 19 seconds, November 25th against Philadelphia. In other words...
How did it go? Do you remember? Because I don't.
Right? Very little. It turned out well for the team, but the point being...
I mean in Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, it was 1 minute and 19 seconds.
Did they have a good shift?
I don't remember that shift.
Okay. Me either.
But so, you don't know until you try. And I guess you don't know until you try.
So I don't know until I try. But I do know that Barbie has played that role more of a north-south with St. Louis for years. Came to us, we had we put him with Jack, and it took off with Marshy, right? So he's been good there and will continue to be good there. He will probably land there in the end. But Kolasar started the year showing more offensive acumen than maybe previous years. So, okay, let's see how and he's always, I thought, played well with Howie. So that was the impetus behind 3 straight line players that can all be physical. Thought we've been missing a bit of that, so let's go to work, see how that line works, and then you work the other pieces around.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It worked right away. I mean, that group.
Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. Right? It's easy for me to sit here and talk about when it works, but when it doesn't work, I mean, it doesn't work other times too. But that's why you try it, right? I don't think anything's going to be instantaneously successful. But that's one that now we know if we ever have to go back to that. Listen, we're probably keeping it Sunday, but eventually, pieces will fall into place where we feel like we can get back to what we think it looks like the best. And sometimes that changes too, right? But at least we know that, hey, these guys gave us a jump with that. So if we have to go back to that, we can. And I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure we'll stick with it for a while.
Yeah, again, 4 points for Barbashev, a couple of goals for Kolasar, 3 assists for Brett Howden. Brett, by the way, with 7 assists in the last 4 games. Just some of the numbers from the recent play in that line, Barbashev, Howden, and Kolasar last night against the Blackhawks. Let's move on to the next question, Bruce. And this is from Lauren Jacobs. Lauren's asking about the Fortress. Bruce, how much does the energy of Golden Knights fans at T-Mobile Arena impact the team's performance on home ice?
Well, my first thought is a lot, but then my next thought is, well, I'd like to think we're going to play well anyway because, that's what we're paid to do.
Yeah.
But remember, it's 41 times at home, 41 times on the road, so a little extra juice from the crowd can affect the players a lot, right? The days they need a little boost, or there's a lot of days they feel great, and there's some days they don't, right? They're humans, so having a little bit of that, fans behind you, I think can give you a little extra energy. So I think anybody would tell you, you got a home crowd that's on their feet, they're rooting for their team. It's noisy, it's electric in the building. You're going to get energy off that. You are. That's just the way it works. So keep bringing it.
Yeah, right? The fans that have come over the course of now 300 regular season games plus playoffs, that was the 300th home game last night. When you have friends who come out and see a game at T-Mobile Arena for the first time, what do they tell you about it?
Well, I had some in from Chicago actually, and they're Blackhawk fans originally, but they cheer for, they cheer for their buddy's team too.
I would hope so.
They loved it. They loved it. They'd never been, and from the start to the opening performance, which I never see because I'm in the locker room, right through the end with everything goes on between whistles and periods. They said, "Wow, it's a production, it's a show." Well, it's Vegas. We have to put on a good product on the ice and entertain the fans, but we still need to have the building be electric and people have a great experience when they leave here, right? I think that's what Bill and his team has done from day one. That's separated them from a lot of teams in the league.
Yeah, and I'll mention this too. One of the neat things after a game, and Vegas is a special place because you have visitors all the time. Some people are visiting because they're supporting the other team. Some people are visiting and they just want to see the Golden Knights because they've heard about it without a rooting interest. But it's so neat to see the fans interact, whether it's in the arena, and I'm up in the press box so I don't see that, but after the game, just around T-Mobile, at the park and all of that, to see the interactions. And it's a hospitality city. I love to see the back and forth between the fans, and of course the Golden Knights fans are the best in the league. Just ask a lot of the visiting teams. What was it like to coach here as a visitor?
Well, the first time we were here, it was with Boston, obviously. I think it was the Knights might have been game 4 or 5 of their season, or it was 4 or 5 of ours, and we lost. And it was Panic City on the drive home, the flight home. We lost to an expansion team, and so for me, the memory was, oh boy, I'm going to hear from my bosses, but don't they go out to, what were they, 8-9-1? They started the year. So they were a good hockey team, but
yes,
no one, the expectations were they wouldn't be, and it was so early in the year that we're like, well, we can't lose to these guys. Well, a lot of teams lost to those guys. They went all the way to Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So, so that was my first experience. After that, I loved it here. It was noisy. I do believe we won here once with Boston, if I'm not mistaken, but it was just a great atmosphere. And it's, first of all, you come in here and it's Vegas, and you're thinking hockey in Vegas. So that's new.
Yeah.
And then I think one of the times I was here, it was snowing. I'm like, I don't know it snowed in Vegas. It was February, and it didn't last. But so, listen, it was awesome being in here. There's some rinks that are, more enjoyable than others, that are loud. And some of them have history, right? You go into Madison Square Garden in Montreal because being hockey meccas. This one had less history, but more production and it was just loud, and it was lots of lights, and it was enjoying, and good hockey team, right? Like for me as a coach, listen, I want to win every game, but when you're playing against a team that's, challenges you, that's part of the adrenaline rush too when you're coaching.
If memory serves, it was Game 5, Vegas against Boston. Knights had won the first 3 at Dallas, at Arizona, then the memorable first home game against Arizona. Then Game 4 was against Detroit. Anthony Mantha, former Golden Knight, but at the time, Detroit Red Wing, he and Marc-Andre Fleury collide. Fleury gets a knee in the head and then would miss the next 2 months. The game after that, Red Wings win. So the Knights are now 3-1. Bruins come in. Malcolm Subban, who had been with the Bruins previously,
picked up on waivers,
gets the start and defeats the Boston Bruins 3-1. So that was Game 5 of the season. So your memory is very good there, Bruce. Okay. On we go.
It is, so be careful.
Yeah, I've been tested. Robert Kenny has our next question. Robert asks, what message do you have for season ticket members, Bruce, who have supported the team since day 1, or perhaps since, day 5 there against the Bruins?
The message I have is thank you. I appreciate it from my last 2.5 years here, and keep doing it, please, because there is no team without a fan base and fan support. So. And tell your friends while you're out there, because we want to keep growing that fan base. So thank you. Appreciate it. And our message from the staff and the players would be, we want to continue to sort of earn your support and keep putting a solid product on the ice and competing for Stanley Cups, because we've got one, but that's not the end goal. We've got plenty of room to hang a few more banners up there.
There you go. Yeah, now, the testimonials go a long way, especially to the people who might be, new fans, whether new to the Golden Knights, new to the area, new to the sport of hockey. You all are the very best to offer those testimonials. Great question, Robert. The next one is from Joseph Ganley. Coach Cassidy, to where on Cape Cod, Massachusetts did you take the Stanley Cup, and did the locals enjoy seeing it, despite not being won by the hometown Boston Bruins?
Well, I'm going to sidebar a little bit. In the morning, we took it to Milton, Massachusetts. Yep. We started a foundation with the Murray family. They lost a daughter in a tragic accident, so that was the first stop to try to bring the cup to some minor hockey programs in that area and raise a little awareness for the foundation and what they were trying to do to help people that were going through some traumatic experiences. And we're able to do that. And then we brought it to the town is actually Mashpee, but it's Pomponesset is the Pomponesset Inn, a famous wedding place, and you would know in Cape Cod. There's many people that get married there. It's a great venue. So we took it there for the afternoon and allowed tried to get boys and girls clubs and minor hockey league teams to come, take a picture with the cup. And if they were able to make a donation to the foundation, that would be awesome. It wasn't mandatory, but again, trying to raise some awareness there. Had a little private party, and we have a place there, and then took it out to the I forget the name of the restaurant. Oh my God, they're gonna kill me. But the Lure, it's called.
Okay.
Where some of the locals hang out, more pictures, and that was more for the adults. It was later at night, so that's where I spend my summers with my family. So we had people of all ages come. We had young kids, we had grandparents, we had everyone in between. I thought it was a terrific day. And one thing about Massachusetts, you're there. They're hockey fans. Listen, they love the Bruins, they love the Red Sox, they love the Patriots and all but they love hockey. So they were very appreciative, even though it wasn't with the Bruins. And they love history, and Stanley Cup is a big part of history. So I thought everyone there had a good time and getting their picture with the cup, and it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, where I spend some time on the Cape, I just remember getting there shortly after the parade in 2023. So let's just say there was a Golden Knights flag flying out in front of the house. There was Golden Knights cornhole. And online at the Pomponesset Inn, I'll never forget seeing the line snake outside. And there were all kinds of hockey jerseys. There were Golden Knights jerseys. There were some Bruins jerseys. But there were like Falmouth High School hockey jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the local, that was pretty, college hockey jerseys, of all ages too. And then there's the Stanley Cup, and then there's the Nantucket Sound. It was a great time. I'm sure it was, especially for you. It was just neat to be there. Yeah,
it was awesome. And then the cup went to Jack Eichel.
Yeah, right.
Over sort of where he grew up and where he played is North Chelmsford, I believe.
Yep, exactly.
To do a rink there. So again, fans appreciative of his journey, being a Massachusetts boy, and so again, it's always the Stanley Cup it just draws people.
Yeah.
It's just such a draw, just the size of it, and it's always shiny and clean, and all the names on it. You can be a fan of pretty much any team, and you can find, I shouldn't say any team, but most of the teams, right? The names from whoever you idolized or you rooted for. So it's really something to see.
When you lifted it up for the first time, do you remember looking and seeing anything, any names, anything when you looked up at it?
No, I was just saying, don't drop it. That's the first thing I'm thinking of, right? I'm not a young 25-year-old,
right,
hockey player. So, but it seemed very easy to lift. You're so excited and a lot of adrenaline. No, I did not look at the names. Be quite honest, I'm looking out at the fans.
Yeah,
and you're sort of looking for your family too, right? And even though they're on their way down to hopefully get on the ice, but you're looking, that's the first thing that went through my head. Where are the kids? This is cool. And then you're just, looking up. My parents aren't around. Looking up, straight up, saying, "Hey, do you see this?"
Yeah.
So, that was cool. But that's what I did. I was not looking at any names. Later, I did.
Yeah.
You sort of pour through it when it's at your house and you got a time to spend a little time alone with it. It's kind of nice too, because someone told that to me. It was Zdeno Chara. It says, "Do not forget, you're going to have a lot of people. You're doing a lot of stuff. Make sure you take 10 minutes and just look at all." And he was right. Like some of the the famous names that the people that I looked up to, but some of them I just watched on TV and I didn't realize he played. Whatever. Just take a little time with it because you never know when you're going to have it again. And it was good advice.
And it should be pointed out that the Golden Knights insisted on having the Golden Knights engraved before it went around. Normally, the engraving was at the end of the year.
Great idea. So now when you tell people, it's like,
you get to point at your name right there.
There's someone there like, well, you didn't win this. I said, yeah, I did. My name's right there.
There it is.
It's right there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when later on I got to, growing up a New Jersey Devils fan, 1995, Devils win the Cup, and I loved that team. I still remember more about that team than probably any other. I found an old colleague of yours, Kevin Dean. Yeah. Kevin Dean was on there. He won the Calder Cup.
He was just in town yesterday. Had a little bout with prostate cancer. He's doing well.
Yes.
Great guy. Terrific guy.
Yeah.
He won the Calder Cup and the Stanley Cup.
In the same year?
In the same year.
Captain of the Albany River Rats.
Probably, I don't know if it's ever been done.
He's the only one who has his name on both cups in the same year.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, no, great guy, Kevin Dean. Wishing him all the best. Okay, let's get on to the next question. We could go on and on without a time limit here. So we talked about Cape Cod. Let's go to another one, Bruce, from Steve McAnally. He asks, hey, Coach, how much do you love the support of the community for the Golden Knights and knowing this team is more supported by locals than any other team here in town?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have competition with the sports franchises, so we want to be number one. I think the advantage of being the first is there, and keeping the fan base engaged, I think, has been awesome for the team. So let's keep doing that. The support of the community, I look at. Well, we're at CNA, the practices. People are out here.
Yeah, we can hear hockey pucks in the background.
They're here supporting the guys during practice. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
I think of our we had some red carpet walks at the start of the year. I remember when I first got here, it was lined with thousands of people. Yeah. The foundation event.
The gala, sure.
The gala full of people that are excited to support the foundation and raise money for good causes. But not only that, just come out and support the team and thank the guys for their effort. I think it's fantastic. So I think it's a real, it's really ingrained in the community. I wasn't here in the original, the tragedy of the shooting, that brought everyone together. And that's kind of the initial sort of, I think, community meets the hockey team and brought everything together, and it's done nothing but continue from there. So good for the fans. And I know our players love it. They're involved in the community. They're out there and engaged with the fan base. So that's a real nice thing. It doesn't happen everywhere.
Yeah, it's a mutual love affair, and this team came along at just the right time, and the community has supported the team through so much in so many ways, and it's just wonderful. And I still remember going back to 2017. The team had an East Coast trip, and I was meeting my parents down the Jersey Shore for dinner, and I walked into this place, the Marina Grill in Belmar, and out came a guy wearing a Golden Knights sweatshirt. And I was, where are we? This is just a couple of weeks, and of course it's grown. There are Golden Knights fans everywhere, but of course especially here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas strong, right? I mean, it's something else.
Yeah. Okay. Kenneth Mooney has our next question. Kenneth asking about a recent tournament. Bruce, what did you learn from winning the Cup and now the Four Nations face-off? And has winning changed your coaching?
Well, once you win, I will say this, there's a little less stressful probably because you've at least done it once. And I think every player, coach, manager, announcer, whatever you do, your goal is to win the Stanley Cup. So once you've done it once, it's almost like I said it when I got interviewed. I'm in a club now. You can't kick you out, right?
Yeah.
You're in. So that
your name is on there.
So that's something that you can't be taken away from you. So that makes it a little better to sleep at night some days when you are on a 3-game losing streak and but I think winning allows you to take a little big picture approach after a while. Sometimes it's not going well. It's like, okay, I remember the year we won. We didn't have a great, I'll use that year, was it January?
Yep.
We fought adversity and played through it and came out the other side better off for it. So that's how it changes your coaching. I think you have a little more patience in if you see that the group can do it. And I'll go to this year, and there's a lot of players still left from that team. It reminds me a little bit this year of 2 years ago. So have a little patience, keep coaching, and keep holding guys accountable, but make sure you don't forget about the big picture and don't stay stuck in the last 2 games. Let's focus on the next one and keep building because I think that's what happened that year. The Four Nations was a quick tournament, so it was a new experience for me. I was an assistant coach, part of the support staff, supporting Coop, and I thought it was a tremendous experience in watching how the players prepared and got so dialed in a really quick tournament and came together over the course of 10 days. Every team. I mean, it was really close. So I saw that, how the ability to want to represent your country first before worrying about the name on the back of the sweater. And I'm sure every team had that approach. So you learned how, again, guys will sacrifice for that. So the Olympics will be sort of a broader picture of that, because it's probably going to be 2.5 to 3 weeks as opposed to the quick 10 days. So that'll be something I think every player will be looking forward to be part of that, and coaches for that matter.
Yeah, how much sharing did end up happening? You, John Cooper, and Rick Tocchet,
well,
Pete DeBoer?
we were all in with, like we originally got together, shared how we play. How do you want to, Coop has to make that call, but he takes all our input, and everyone had a bit of a piece of that. So you're a bit of an open book that way, which people will say, well, you're sharing, but you're learning too, right? You're taking stuff from 3 other terrific coaches, and they're taking maybe a bit from you. And in the end, you're only going to get better for it, right? And I think a lot of teams know how the other team plays. I mean, every game is on video. You got guys breaking it down. So you understand styles and that. It's the little things that how you motivate players, and the little tweaks that you make, that being around coaches like that you can take with you as well. Like, oh, I don't know if I would have done it that way going in between periods, but that's what he did. And, so you think about that stuff and use it as you see fit.
Yeah, just to be like a fly on the wall in the room to hear you guys talking. And I did hear a little bit of a roundtable that the staff did with Elliot Freeman and the 32 Thoughts podcast, just the ideas bouncing around. Was it as cool as we all thought it would be to just be in a room with those guys?
Well, it was, because we got along. There was no egos, right? There was opinions, but at the end of the day, no one thought their idea was better than the next one. As I said, the head coach makes the decision at the end, but I thought Coop did a great job of delegating and then gathering information, and I thought the assistants and Pete DeVore and myself were pretty good at, you got to stay in your lane at the end of the day, but help the team win, but and take care of the business you were asked to do. And I thought everybody did that, yet still offered between periods, hey, maybe this line isn't going. What do you think of this player up there, without kind of jamming it down each other's throats. So I thought it was a real good mesh of personalities.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of personalities, there is a nickname that has been attached to Bruce Cassidy for a long time, and that is going to be the subject of our next question, which comes from Frankie. Frankie asks, who gave you the nickname Butch? And would you share the inside info on the where, the why, and how it stuck?
I was actually talking about this today with a friend of mine from out of town. That's odd, because it's like, where did Butch come from? I said, well, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid was a movie a long time ago.
Paul Newman and Robert Redford,
which I didn't know. So I'm 12 years old, and the manager of our team, and I remember, it's amazing some of the things you can remember. His name was Gavin Leishman, and his son was Brett. We were friends, and he started calling me Butch Cassidy. So I said, Mom, who the hell is Butch Cassidy? Like, where does this come from? I'm 12. I'd never seen the movie. And she didn't like it. She says, oh, it's in my dad's. Like, it's a movie, but I don't like that. Butch sounds like harsh or something. I don't know what she said, but it stuck. It stuck forever. And I think because it was a popular movie, it was that or Hopalong, right? It was the old football player, right? It wasn't part of the Four Horsemen of Notre Dame, I want to say.
There you go. Gosh.
So I preferred Butch to Hopalong, so I was hoping it would be more of that. So that's where it came from. And it stuck to the point of, I think there were times on TV when I was coaching or playing, like that. I think people thought that was my first name after a while.
Wow.
So,
did you eventually watch the movie?
I did.
And what did you think?
I enjoyed the movie. It's a while ago. Like, is it Raindrops Keep Falling?
That's right.
He rides a bike around town, and eventually they get him, right? They're on the run forever.
Right. Well,
and,
the famous.
I don't want to ruin the movie for people out there,
but they're chasing, Butch. And as you folks who don't know, the Sundance Film Festival is, all Robert Redford, and that's where that came from. And the line that I love is they're chasing Butch and Sundance, and who are those guys? Who are those guys? And I always I always love that. I might have asked you a question in an interview. So, Bruce, who are these guys? I might have said Butch, though. There you go. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance
Well, that's
Kid.
where it came from.
That's where it came from.
Ottawa, 12 years old, minor hockey league team, manager.
Yeah.
And,
no other nicknames?
Not really. It kind of stuck. No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, people shorten your name and call you Cass, right? Because that's the hockey way. Like if your name is a one syllable, like Smith, they call you Smitty. If your name is a little longer, like Conklin, they'll call you Conks. Like that's
they put a Y
not really
or an
creative,
S.
right? Like they just throw it on there, and that's how it starts.
Well, Dan Duva turned into Dan Doovs. I got a lot of Doovs.
Right. Or you might get like D squared. Right?
Yeah. I got double D. Also, Sicilian soundbite, courtesy of Mike McKenna once upon a time. Yes, I am a quarter Sicilian. Next one comes from John M. John asks, what is a typical game day like for you as coach?
If we have morning skate, which we typically do, at the rink, CNA, at home, or on the road, I guess on the road. It's usually right there between, at home, usually 7:15. On the road, it might be more like 8 o'clock because you're on later. Pre-game skate at home is 11. On the road's 11:30. So you come to the rink early. Could be a workout or a walk, whatever. I'm more into that now. Sometimes if it's fresh air, and then it's review PP and PK pre-scouts because whoever we're playing, for example, just played Chicago, so we'll look at what we're going to do against their PK. So I'll sit with Dom. We'll go through it. And then that'll be presented at 10:15. PK, John Stevens will come in. We'll go through what Chicago doing. We'll have a chat, and that'll be presented at 10:15 as well. Obviously, same time but different order, right? So those meetings are 5 to 7, 8 minutes. 10:30 we're usually done. We go on the ice at 11. Around 9:15, I'll go through the 5-on-5 pre-scout that Joel Ward and Dave Rogowski prepare. We'll present that at night. At a 5:30 meeting. So we're tidying up all the meetings, editing, throwing that together. Could be the odd player meeting, individual, grab a guy before we go on the ice at 11. And then on the ice at 11, I forgot breakfast. We have a nice omelet, around 8, which is always, you got.
What do you put in your omelet?
I'm not, you know what, I like salmon.
Yeah.
I love salmon. Mushrooms, periodically, a little cheese, but anyway. So then we go on the ice, have our pregame skates, about 20 minutes. Off we go, do media. So now it's 12:15. Tidy up a few things on that pre-scout before I leave for Wardy, so he has it. So when he gets to the rink, he's all good. Little lunch, and then home. Sometimes I'll walk the dog if it's early enough. I usually like to. I know this sounds terrible as an older guy, have a nap. Guys like to sleep.
That's a hockey tradition,
but it is a tradition from playing, right?
Yeah,
so
no matter
remember,
how old. Yeah.
Remember, you're up at usually 6:30.
Yeah.
And you don't leave the rink till 10:30 at night, so a nap can come in handy. So sometimes I don't even sleep. I'll read or whatever, but it's usually, and then off to the rink around 3:30. There by 4. Start watching hockey if there's East Coast games on. It's one thing about being out here. There's games that start earlier there. 5:30 meeting. So between that 4 and 5:30, depends who's doing the game. You'll meet with more media people usually, and just talk about the team. That's it. 5:30's done. The meeting's about 7 minutes, and then there's the most downtime you'll ever have. If I could ever have between 5:30 and 7 back in my life, because I've been doing this for a while, that's probably 2 days, well, not 2 days, might be friggin' almost, a year of my life I'd like to have back, where you just sit there and wait for the game. It is the worst time. The players would probably say the same, because they want to get going. They've had their meeting, they're warmed up, so you sit around and watch more hockey, and maybe whatever, catch up with your kids or home from school that you missed, whatever. But that's a typical game day. I'm probably getting a little too monotonous, but I'm trying to describe the whole thing.
This is fascinating.
So then the game starts at 7. Begin yelling at the referees by 7:15.
Maybe sooner.
No, that's it. You're done at 10. We usually sit in the room after, and we don't rehash the game long. I will say that. Let's do the autopsy the next day. good or bad, just because you can be heated right after a game, and I think sometimes discussion isn't always great when you're emotional. The next day, let's go into the rink and start over and talk about the game. So home to bed. Back in, where am I? Summerlin, right? Sorry. By 11, that's it, to bed, because you're back at it the next day.
Yeah.
So.
Do you eat after a game? Do you not eat after a game?
Yeah, a little snack.
Yeah.
You're hungry by then.
Yeah.
And we have food for the players, so we'll usually grab one. Last night was chicken taco. Nice. Delicious.
Yeah. Is it easy to fall asleep after a game? Are you wired?
Easier than when I was a player.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you're a player, you're still sorting through the game, and there's as a coach, your brain's tired at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So by midnight, it's lights out, and you should be asleep.
Yeah. Read a book. Don't use your devices. That'll keep you up.
I don't. I'm not a device guy. I'd what I'd rather is put on SNL, have a few laughs, good or bad.
Yeah.
Have you watched this 50th?
I
just finished it. Like, I've been gone with the Four Nations. What was on like a month ago?
Yeah, it was finally on, like, Sunday.
I finished the last 40 minutes last night because it was 3 hours or something. I can't do all of that, but anyway.
Yeah.
So a few good laughs. That's listen, I'm sidebar, but that's one of the best for me. I love that show.
Oh yeah,
love that show. I'm at the age where I saw most of it. Missed probably the Gilda Radner and Belushi, the start of it, because I was too young. But after that, like, boy.
Did I ever tell you I went to see Saturday Night Live once?
No.
I was 15 years old, and the guest for freshman in high school, Dan Duva, was Britney Spears.
The guest?
Guest and musical performer.
She must have been young.
It was 2000. It was 25 years ago. Yes, this was right in the height of her popularity.
Well, how old is she now?
I don't know.
Was she
she's
like 15
older than
there?
Me. She's older than me, but yeah. No, it was 2000.
That's on the bucket list. We played the Rangers really this year. We got there early. Played them on, was it Sunday? So Saturday we looked into it, but there was no taping that night.
Oh, really?
But the problem is it's the night before the game, right? So it's 11:30 to 1 in the morning, and it's not a good look to be, in a studio. But it's still something I'd always love to do. And
May 13th, 2000, the internet tells me, was when Britney Spears was on SNL. There you go. Yep, that was fun. She was born in December of '81, so she's 4 years older than me.
So she was 19 at the time, right?
There you go.
So I remember her being more like almost a teenager when she.
Yeah, no.
So there you go.
Yep, there you have it. Okay, moving on. Ray DeGraw asks, Bruce, what do you like best about living in Las Vegas?
I like the pace of life here. It's funny. I have friends in from Chicago. I got to ask these same questions today. It's like Vegas. I
love warm up. Yeah.
I love it. The weather is much more agreeable than other places, except for July, obviously. But I'm fortunate enough to get away to the Cape. But the pace of life, I find traffic there's very little traffic. You don't have to deal with people honking their horns all the time. A little more laid back. I live in Summerlin, so there's everything we need there for our family and children, schools, parks, restaurants. You don't have to go to the Strip. It's available to you if you want to see shows. So you get the best of both worlds that way if you have people visiting here. The hockey team, obviously, the fan base, the support, the building we play in, our practice facility here. So for career-wise, it's outstanding. And the other thing is you're a little bit like our family. Julie's family's from Jersey, mine's Ottawa, so we're more East Coast, so it's not as easy just to pop in and visit. But that's the only, like for say Thanksgiving or something like that, that's the only downside. You go through it, right? So other than that, I love it out here.
Yeah. We've got time for one more, Bruce, and this is from James Ludwig. James asks, what do you see as the biggest obstacle that faces the Golden Knights going forward?
Well, the biggest obstacle usually is, can you get your game to the level you need to get it to? And if you can, like, what team's getting in your way? So if you're looking at obstacles as a team, well, there's other teams out there that have the same goal we do, right? So sometimes I would say health becomes an obstacle. Right now we're without Carly and Theodore, but every team goes through that. So getting people healthy at the right time, which happened the year we got on the run, we were almost got healthier as we got closer to the playoffs. So that's important. Sometimes I think it's ourselves. I feel we're as good as any team in the West. Any team in the East we don't see as much, but I think the West is stronger this year. So our biggest obstacle might be, can we manage our game well enough on a nightly basis for 60 minutes? Because if we can, then I love our chances.
Yeah. I got a couple from me. Thanks very much to the season ticket members. If I am wanting to get into Pearl Jam,
Oh, yeah.
where do I start?
Well, get the Pearl Jam 10, first of all, the original, because it's got all their classics. So you'll find out right away, whether you're a Pearl Jam guy.
Which you are, for those who don't know.
I am. That's my, I started out as U2, but I gravitated towards, I like Van Halen, Zeppelin as a kid, that type of music. Then I got a little more mellow, but I do like, and I love Eddie Vedder. I think he's their lead singer, and he's, I think, a great entertainer. I like his lyrics. Kind of like what he stands for. I like that if you go to they go to a live show. That's the other thing, because they're a band that will play and play. They got some Springsteen in them that way, right? And they're a better arena band than maybe a recording studio band. So see them live. They cater to their audience. They don't always play the same songs. So if you're a catalog guy, you're going to hear some songs you wouldn't all the time. So that's would be my advice, how to get going with Pearl Jam.
Mm-hmm. What are you reading?
It's funny. I'm reading actually the Van Halen brothers by Alex Van Halen. I'm reading a book by Kenny Albert. You might enjoy that. He gave me. He's does some of our games. So,
yep.
And then the last book. See, those are more topical of people, and I have a Tragically Hip one that's next. So I'm in music, kind of that, like a little bit biography-ish of things I'm interested in. The last book I read was The Women. It was about the 1970s when they needed nurses in Vietnam, and these young women went over, and they had to come back and integrate into the United States, and it was difficult for them, and they didn't get a lot of credit. It's Kristen Hanna. She's written a lot of interesting books. And then there was one right before I'm reading, because it's been on a bit of a run here. Was what was it called? It was about a ship that left Britain, 1700s. They were trying to steal the Spanish gold. What was it from the Spanish Armada? An interesting story. It's called the Wager. It's called the Wager. So it's one of the smallest ships that set sail. Not very seaworthy. They had to sail through the Cape Horn, right, which is very dangerous at the time. Not too many ships made it. It's a great story because the ship didn't make it.
A tale of shipwreck, mutiny, and murder.
Yes. So now 3 different factions of the people sort of get back to Britain, and the story is, whose story do you believe on what happened? Was it the mutiny? Was it the original? And anyway, it's an interesting book. It's a true story, I guess, for the most part, with someone's probably sort of slant on how it really happened, but it's a good book.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm adding that to my list. That's great. We could talk all night, but it is a Friday in Las Vegas, and that means we get to move on to Friday in Las Vegas. How do you spend your Friday when you don't have a game the next day?
Cole does not have a baseball game tonight. He has practice, so I would have been there. I will go home, and because I did play a little golf today. I had friends in town, so nice. I pushed work aside. I will go home and work on our game from last night against the Blackhawks, go through it, cut some clips up, so that when we meet tomorrow in practice, I'll have some stuff. We usually like to revisit some things. So that's what I'll do tonight, put my feet up, and get ready for work tomorrow. I had my pleasure this afternoon. TPC Vegas, great. Nice track in town. They're always very good to us. My friends were in. Hopefully they had a good time. It was good weather. And, get some work done.
Excellent. Practice tomorrow, and then game on Sunday, 5 o'clock here against the New Jersey Devils. By the way, right now scores, Toronto beat the Rangers 3-2. The Stars lead the Kings 4-2 in the third. And also, just starting the second period, Colorado trails Minnesota 2-1. There you go. You had to get your score update there. 3 games on the slate on this final day of February. Bruce, thanks so much. This was great. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And thanks to everyone out there for taking the time to put some great questions together and showing some interest in the group.
Yeah, no, this is great. As we started the program here tonight, I mentioned I get to talk with Bruce before every game. It is it's one of my favorite parts of the day. I always learn something. I always listen back to it at least once or twice because I know I've missed something. And you can listen to those interviews live on the radio, also on SoundCloud, also on podcast form, and on social media. Just search at VGK Radio Network and you'll find it. Look, just search Golden Knights Radio. You can find our chats. It's more hockey focused typically, but we get some other stuff in there too. So thanks again, Bruce. Thanks to our season ticket members who are watching today, and in particular those who sent in the questions. We tried to get as many in as we could, but thank you very much. Enjoy your Friday evening, and we'll talk to you on Sunday when the Golden Knights host the New Jersey Devils. Good night.